Welcome everyone to another edition of Heal the Healer Mami Goddaughter edition. In this particular episode, we are going deep. It's a very, very intimate session. So go ahead, get your yoga mat, get you some chamomile tea, and sit back and enjoy a very personal session of the Heal the Healer Mami Goddaughter edition.
Latvia, welcome in, welcome in. My apologies, I'm having some internet issues, but welcome to Heal the Healer, Mommy Goddaughter edition. We have some really deep and impactful conversations, and by giving our respect to all those who come before us. And so I'm going to begin by and all of our temple keepers throughout the ages who protected and steward the knowledge and are still passing it down. I want to give great honor and respect to our great matriarch, Queen Mother Mano, Nai Pujitawani Maso II, the global leader and founder of the CFI Spiritual Institute. And I want to give great honor and respect to our home temple here in the States, Nazia Spiritual Institute of North America, and our founder and leader, Miana Wananasi. And of course, I want to greet you and your ancestors and the energies that are walking with you, and as well as my own ancestors and energies that are with me. I want to give gratitude for all of their protection and support. So it is so good to be with you all on this Sunday. Time has went back, so I'm still adjusting to that. Uh, How are you all doing? We usually start by just doing a check-in and seeing where everyone's at and then begin.
Lafia, welcome. My name is Akbansi, and I always start with honoring my ancestors as well, honoring all of that come before me. So I give acknowledgement and honor to our temples in Benin and our great matriarch, Mino Naye Pojita Enimaso II. She is the Queen Mother and High Priestess of our global organization. I also give honor to our temple in the US, now CFI Spiritual Institute, as well as our leader and spiritual mother, Miano Ananasi. I give honor to my ancestors and all of the energies that are with me. So I'm greeting you as well. I will check in. My week has gone relatively smooth. It's been a good week. I've been doing a little bit of a fast, which has been pretty difficult, doing this liquids fast where I'm drinking soup or broth. And so that has been difficult because energy has been a little low. I can't lie, I had to eat a couple of days. I had to eat like food, but just trying to stick with this cleansing that I've been doing with Mianu towards the end of the year and preparing for this, new energy to be fully present in the new year. And so that's pretty much what I've been focusing on. I've got a lot of projects that I'm working on. And so all of that has been keeping me busy. At least my mind has been busy. I have been busy this weekend. I got some time to rest, but also get some work done. And so it's been, let's say, a productive time. My energy is feels like it's getting better, and yeah, so it's been pretty good. I love you, love you, love you.
I go, I go, I go. Um, this week was challenging. I went out of town wedding, a lot of catch up, as well as just a lot of like emotional processing. Being at the wedding, it was so beautiful to see people that I had seeing everybody older and noticing everybody who wasn't there because they've transitioned. And then this week I had the anniversary of my younger cousin, who's months younger than me. She passed. And so that and it has a bunch of responsibilities. So it's but it was all beautiful because I was able to see how I've grown over the years, things that I used to would do to cope. I'm not doing that anymore. So that's really beautiful. Um, it's still just difficult, but it feels good to do the hard thing, even when you don't feel like it. I'm grateful to have responsibility on pace. So yes, let me go ahead and check the chat. Hello, greetings, Alicia. Um, Alicia says, thank you for having me in this space. It has been a week of trying to align purpose and tapping in, just having trouble in areas of letting go and loving me truly. Um, feel worthy and stepping into my purpose. Yes, that I feel like is something that continues as you're on your journey because even as you elevate, it's like a spiral. So there are things that still come up and you just heal it from a deeper level because a lot of the things that we go through in this life, our ancestors also went through. So we heal the things from our own life, but then we also start healing that deeper stuff. So I'm so proud of you. I'm glad that you're here in this meeting. The discussion today is going to be a bit um, heavy or deep, but it's also going to be really, really good, right? Because we have to face whatever is there. Even when we don't want to face it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And usually the trying to run or hide from it compounds the issue and it can get very overwhelming. But the beautiful thing is that within our culture, they dealt with everything. And there is a solution. It's just that we got to put the work in. And coming from the West, we are work avoidant. So it's a bit of a transition. Um, but this week we wanted to talk about the very first episode that Mianu did of the As You Are in One Thing series, which talked about abortion. And so, Alicia, were you able to see that? It's on YouTube. Agbasi also put the link in the chat right before the link for this meeting. So did you get a chance to look at that video? And no worries if you didn't. Okay, no worries because we can play it here. And it's really beautiful because each time you hear a message, like you get something else from it, right? So we will go ahead and play that. And so then we can all be on the same page and then have a discussion around it. So, Agbasi, if you could get that queued up, that'd be great.
Okay, let me get it started. I'm on my phone right now, so I'm gonna share my screen. So bear with me. Um, yeah, bear with me. Yeah, I had a couple of issues with my computer, and so I'm kind of winging it these days from my phone. But I'm really happy that these phones are more like computers every day. So, okay, here we go. Here we go. Let me know when you guys can see it. Okay, I'm
We can
sharing.
see
You
it.
can see. Okay.
We can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. Let me ask you, if you eat a lot of bread
and the doctor says it's too much sugar in your system and you have diabetes, right? Who do you blame? If you smoke cigarettes and your lungs are black and you start to have lung problems, bronchitis or worse, who do you blame? This is a question. The reason I ask it is because it's been brought to my attention that many of you are debating in the spiritual community, in the holistic community, whether or not abortion is justified. Yeah, you are saying because you have your reason, abortion is justified. Let me tell you, for those of you who don't know who I am Miano Ananasi. I am an initiated priest of voodoo. Yes, with years of service to the community and over a decade of repatriation, going back and forth, learning at the foot of elders in the bush, straight in Africa. Okay? So let me explain to you something. Okay? When you're dealing with nature, you can't run from nature. When you're dealing with natural forces, you can't run from natural forces. Okay? That soul can be seen from a priest in a reading 6 to 12 months before you even conceive. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. I want that to sink into you because there's a lot of tarot card readers. There's a lot of shell throwers, bone throwers. There's a lot of uh, um, people who do dream interpretation and all different types of modalities. Mind you, those are my children. There's nothing wrong with the modalities, right? But the thing we need to caution when we come, right, we leave the Christian church and we come into holistic wellness. A lot of us, a lot of you, before you get to traditions, before you get to your culture, you get stopped off somewhere in New Age spirituality. And so you get this mindset that's not based on your culture, that's not based on nature, that's not based on principle. Okay? So let me just tell you from a priest perspective, let me just tell you from a natural perspective, I can see that baby soul on and around you 6 months to 1 year before you even conceive. So this is not, I'm pregnant and the baby is just 6 weeks. You guys like to do that debate with your government. Oh, life starts at conception. Oh, life starts at 6 weeks. Let's debate it. It wasn't a life until the baby was born. No, my love, my niece, my daughter, my sister. No, no. I'm not going to lie to you. There's too much going on with us right now for me to waste time with you. I got to give it to you straight and I got to give it to you real. Okay? And the real is life started way before you even conceived. Okay? So by the time you're pregnant and you make the decision to have an abortion, that child has already been assigned to you. The destiny's already been created. Life has already begun. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's the truth. You need to think twice before you have an abortion. You hear me? Now, let's go back to the original example I said, right? If you're smoking and your lungs are bad, do you go to the doctor and you tell him, well, hey, doc, I can't get lung cancer because it wasn't my fault. The reason why I was smoking, I was stressed out. I didn't know any other way to deal with the stress. It was secondhand smoke because my boyfriend smoked. It wasn't even me. Does that stop your body? Can the doctor do anything for you? Mm-mm. The damage is already done, right? Same with you eating too much, watching what you put in your mouth. And now you got hypertension. Now you have high cholesterol. Now you have diabetes. Do you look at your body and tell yourself, you know what? Don't give me that disease because I have a good reason as to why I'm eating late. I have a good reason as to why I'm taking in all of this sugar. Does your body care? Does nature stop? No, it doesn't. You have to accept the consequences for smoking and damaging your body. You have to accept the consequences for putting food in your mouth and getting some unhealthy disease or having a poor diet and there being a disease attached to that. Same way, beloved, you have to accept the consequences for having an abortion. You can't just say, I don't accept that. I don't subscribe to that. As if it doesn't exist. It exists. It's real, whether you believe it or not. Okay? This accounts for mental illness, disease, a whole lot of natural repercussions that show, all because you have that spirit that's attached to you. Now, granted, you can get spiritual work done to put the baby's soul at rest, to put the child's spirit, to send them back to the ancestors' vestibule. You can do that. But you have to be aware that takes working with a priest, that takes time and energy. You have to undo what you did. Understand? Because once that life comes to this dimension, there's no going back. They're here, whether you give them a physical body or not. Okay? And by having an abortion, you take away the physical body. That is a spiritual crime. Okay? I need to have this real conversation with you because some of you like to get into the debate as if with spiritual things of spiritual nature, as if it's a governmental debate, right? As if because you have a good excuse, you can plea bargain your way out of something.
Sorry, one thing, I just need to check. There's some people in the waiting room. Just a minute. I think. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. And we're resuming.
Or because you have a good reason, nature will side with you. No, that's not how the universe works, beloved. And as a spiritual person, let me not forget to remind you that you should be striving to be self-governing. Self-governing. You should be striving to be sovereign. What do I mean by that? That means that whether the Democrats are in office, whether the Republicans are in office, whether abortion is legal or not legal, what the government has going on doesn't affect you because you govern yourself in a way to where you're not so far out of balance with nature to where you need governance. Because you can't manipulate nature or the spirit world, not at all. Okay? So get your spiritual work done before it needs to get done. Take care. You should have an annual checkup, just like you go to the doctor. You should be going to your priest to get an annual reading, to check the energy, check in with your temple, to see what the reading is for the year. And then you check your own energy and see how do you align your energy with the energy of the year. Yeah. And then you get the work done. You have to remember, in traditions, this isn't tarot reading. It's just not astrology where you see the future and get entertained by knowing what's going to happen. No, we do something about it. Your culture has the key to align you to do something with it. So you do your work. Okay? Because your argument with me is what? What about rape? What about incest? What about those horrific situations that happen? And my answer to you, get your spiritual work done. Protect your lineage. If you protect your lineage against wandering spirits, you protect your lineage against any destruction or evil spirits like that, you won't have to worry about that. You won't then have to plead or worry about the government, whether there's rules or not allowing you or allowing a woman the freedom of choice. Because as a spiritual person, you've already taken care of it. Okay? And understand your power as a woman. You should be invoking and spell casting over your family. Your family needs your spiritual protection. Everyone that you are the woman over, meaning your children, meaning your husband, meaning any godchildren, you need to protect them with your words, with your invoking, with your prayers. Okay? Just because you're not in church doesn't mean that everything out of there was evil and wrong. The way they manipulated you and kept you oppressed was wrong. But there were spiritual principles that you learned. And they are nature's principles. Remember that. So now that you're learning the ways of nature, use those to your benefit. Do not stop protecting your family. You speak into existence what will and will not happen over your household. Yes, when you stop doing that, your family loses the protection. So don't come telling me, what about rape? What about incest? What about this? No, 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 no. When you tell me all of that, that means to tell me you're not on your game. That means that tells me there's not a woman, there's not a matriarch, there's not a nae, there's not someone who is covering that family. Please do your work. This is your work to do. You have a uterus, it's your work. Yeah? So don't allow your convoluted mind and way of thinking that the government needs to be your savior No, what do I mean government needs to be your savior? The government is saving you from not having discipline. Right? I don't have to sleep responsibly. I can just be irresponsible and take plan Bs like gummy bears. Nasty. No. Clean your spirit. Clean yourself. Have some spiritual integrity. Yes. If you don't want to bring forth life, don't be having sex. Be responsible. Period. For you to say it's the government who needs to decide or whether they can or can't, no, then you take the power from yourself. Never take the power away from yourself. You have the power. Don't get pregnant. And if you get pregnant, deal with the consequences. Just like if you smoke, you deal with the consequences. Just like anything else that happens naturally. But to be reckless, to create a life, and then to abort it, just because you're not financially stable, just because you have too many kids, just because you don't want no baby from this man. It's not good enough. You need to deal with the hard reality. You need to have that tough conversation. I'm not sleeping with you because I don't want no baby from you. You need to deal with that deep conversation and deal with what comes. Some of you need to end these relationships that you're with, but you won't because you'd rather sleep with him than be alone. You'd rather sleep with him than be celibate. A period of celibacy, nothing is wrong with that. If you're not going to have a child, then don't be irresponsible. Don't give me your excuse. Accept the consequences. Or you just say, hey, I'm deciding to take the consequences. I know having abortions spiritually, there's repercussions. I'm going to do it anyway. I respect you if you say that. But so many of you are in the spiritual community and you just want to argue and banter and go back and forth and make it seem like we're having some debate and there's some judge who has the better claim or the better personality, and that's the one who wins. Nature doesn't work like that, baby. No. Okay? If you have questions, if you need help, then you come see me. If you're pregnant or think you're pregnant and you don't want the child and you schedule an appointment, but something in you is just saying, I really don't want to go through with it, then message me. You need support. You need a community. I've taken on tons of children, raised them, given them a good life. Don't kill the ancestor. All right, everyone. I'll speak to you soon. Be well.
That was a lot. That can be heavy. How's everybody feeling after hearing that? Was any of this new information or things that you already have heard or kind of felt? I would love to just hear where you guys are at right now. The floor is open.
I'll go. Hi, everybody. Uh, I agree with everything that Mianu uh, said in the video. I believe that wholeheartedly, 100%. Um, I think the only, oh, thank you. I think the only, I think for me, the only thing is that I just don't think that the government should have a say in what a woman does, period. Uh, and so even though, and the reason why I say that is because I mean they don't stop doing it, but for decades, China was forcing women to have abortions. And so when they had that law that you could only have one child, the way they were enforcing it was every 3 months, they required them to go to the doctor to take a pregnancy test. And if you just chose to not come, they would come to your house, they would come to your job, they would go to like the homes of your family members looking for you. And they would drive around in these vans, which I didn't know about this until it was like a documentary I saw a long time ago. And I was like, oh my goodness. Um, and they would have like these vans where the government would go gathering these women up, and if they weren't willing to do the test with urine, then they would have to like they would draw their blood, and if you weren't married, then they would force you to have an abortion. If you were married and you didn't have any kids, they'll let you keep that one unless you decided you didn't want it, because they were really into trying to have boys, which has also led to like an imbalance now because they have all these men, but not enough women to go around. But if you were married and you and your husband already had a child, then they would force you to have an abortion. And so in the documentary, they were talking about how, on average, Chinese women, before getting married and actually having their first child, they were forced to have like on average about 5 abortions before they got married. And I just thought that that was heartbreaking, because how is it any of your business how many children um, me and my husband decide to have? Or if I'm not married, but I got pregnant and I want to keep this baby, how do you justify that? And so that's the only reason why I feel like the government should stay out of it. And I don't think it should be illegal either way. It just has nothing to do with y'all. As long as that woman is a law abiding, tax paying citizen, what she decides to do, it should be her decision, and not because the government is forcing her hand either way. But just like Mianu said, if you are a spiritual woman, the government you should be self-governing. So whether it's legal or not, which abortion was legal, it still is in a number of states in the US, but whether it is or not, you still have to decide for yourself. It's a lot of stuff that's legal. Gambling is legal. I don't do it. Um, it's a lot of drugs that are legal. Alcohol is legal. If I'm at a wedding or something, I may have a glass of wine, two tops. But for me to just be out here chugging vodka and now I don't want to deal with the consequences of, oh, now you got cirrhosis of the liver, Lenitra, great. But you did that every time you decided to overindulge. So I do agree with that we need to be self-governing. And just because something is legal doesn't automatically mean that it's okay for you to do it. I just don't think that any government should have any say in something so personal That don't have nothing to do with y'all. Y'all already snatching taxes out my check. Leave me alone. That's all you need from me. Lafayette, Lafayette, Lafayette.
There were some good points, Lenitra, and thank you for sharing what you learned in the documentary. You always have things that you're sharing in class that are super interesting. So I appreciate that. Does anybody else have any thoughts? When the first thing that came up for me when I first watched the video, I agree with pretty much everything, and even what you had to say, Lenitra, about it just not being something that the government should have control over. I also agree with that. Um, but the thing that came up for me the most is like abortion being a symptom. And I feel like the discussion is always around like should or shouldn't you have an abortion, and we don't have enough discussions on why people feel the need to have the abortions or how to fix that, because that's the real issues, right? The issues around not being able to um, like provide basic needs for the child, right? The emotional things that might be coming up, and not having enough community network for if the mother cannot take care of and raise the child, someone else being able to. So for me, I don't necessarily like to have the discussion around abortion, but I want to figure out and get solutions to these deeper rooted problems, right? And even beyond that, like like the title of the series, as you are in one thing, you are in all things. And so while abortion might not be someone's personal thing, there might be another area where someone isn't wanting to take responsibility or not able to take responsibility um, for like their actions, or like Mianu discussed, like there are times where actions are done to other people and you still have to deal with that, and that can be a really really hard thing to do. um, but I think that one of the things that, as I've reflected on this topic, is like having a warped idea of what the healing process, or I'm kind of fatigued with the whole healing process, healing journey conversation. But just I would say, like in general, your journey or your experience with life, like we expect to be able to move through certain things super quickly, or we expect to be able to do things when it's like that might just not be in the cards. And I like to connected to with cooking, because cooking is something that is pretty universal, and it's like expecting to be able to cook a Thanksgiving meal in 30 minutes. Like that's not possible. Just in general, that's not possible. Even with all the prep in the world, 30 minutes, like if you're cooking a full-on turkey and sides and all the things, unless you already cooked it and are warming it up. Now that's possible. Um, but like not having the right expectations for these things, or not being able to have the endurance. Because a lot of times we'll start out doing well, but then we start to like fall off. And so, with that being said, what are the ways, because this is a very personal topic, I don't want anybody to feel like pressured to, bring up their own story, but like to be able to have like a productive conversation, what are some ways do you all feel like you could use support to be able to be that sovereign person, or to be able to, you know, have like preventative measures of not even being put in the position of having to deal with consequences. Are there things that you have identified that you need to be able to help you stay on the path or help you to be sovereign?
I'll go. I think that the idea of being sovereign really has to come from within first. I think that in this society, we're taught that we don't have to take accountability for our actions in so many ways. There's always an out. And I mean, even for the, start of this country with slavery, like the US has not taken accountability for any of their actions. And on a micro level, it's something that's ingrained in the values of our society. As long as you can talk your way out of it, as long as you can justify it, as long as you can make it so that it doesn't affect others or appear that it doesn't affect others in the short term, you can get away with crime. You can get away with injustice. You can get away with not taking accountability. I think that's something that we have to do the deeper work in looking into where we align ourselves with that value set. And I think at some point we all do, because we're all raised in this society, and it takes a lot of self-reflection to see that, and do the work to change that. And what is that work? It's different for everyone, but I think in order to be sovereign, you have to somehow take your power. You have to know who you are. You have to know, you have to be educated on a different value set than you have today, which we know is built off of corruption. I think that even just all of us, but even those in the spiritual community, if we were raised with the set of values, knowing that a child's spirit comes, 6 to 8 months prior to that child even being conceived. If we had the knowledge that ancestors are developing that spirit is making a soul contract to his destiny and what he's going to do in this life, well before you even know that you're pregnant, I think that we would think differently. I think that our level of accountability would be different. I know that, abortion is a very, very difficult subject, but if you just break down to the root of why we think it's okay, is because for me, it seems that it's okay because to, there's no one advocating for this spirit. No one's gonna know. Who's gonna know? It's kind of the thing. Who's gonna know that I just snatched this destiny? There's no one to say I was wrong. It's a decision that I can make autonomously. And I think that same energy, that same power that we say that, this is my body, I'm gonna do what I want to do, is the same energy to say, like, I don't need government control over the things that I do. I'm going to move along with the energy of nature. I'm going to move along with the principles of nature. These are my rights. These are my wrongs. These are the things that I will not do under any circumstance, and that's just it. I think it's just interesting because I totally agree with Lenitra on the fact that, abortion should not be something that the government decides, should not be something that the church decides. There's a natural, universal principle or way that these things go. And it shouldn't be anyone outside of you to decide how much accountability you take or responsibility you take. But it's just for me a trigger to hear, from some people say, yeah, the government shouldn't be involved, but these conversations only come up when the government wants to take away the right to do something unjust. And or want to take away the resources to do these things, like the clinics, or the technology to do so, or the access to do so. That's when the conversation, comes up of, I should, government shouldn't be involved. And so I just wish that the conversation would come up on both sides of the coin. Um, to me personally, I don't agree with abortion, and I don't agree that the government should fund it. And I think that the government saying this is right or wrong, and I'm not going to do it, it makes no difference to me. But it's so I don't know. To me, it's just like, you want to take away the access. Oh well, like, it's not the choice of the government. So anyway, I agree with what Lenitra says, but I just don't like that. The conversation only comes up when they want to take away the resources to do something that, as a spiritual person, has a lot of repercussions. I will share, like, I've not had an abortion before, but I've had friends that had an abortion, and I wish that I would have known or been educated about the repercussions of that, because I didn't advocate, for not having abortion. It was more, oh, you don't feel supported. You don't want to have a baby with this guy. It was one of my friends. It was literally like, I don't want to have a baby with this guy, and the guy begging to not kill his child, and she just didn't want to have a baby with the guy. I mean, he was a deadbeat, but it was just like, I didn't tell her. I supported her in her decisions, um, and I wish I hadn't, because if I had been maybe that one person to say, "Oh, you can do this. You have my support," this, that, and the other, she wouldn't have went through years of depression, years of therapy that she had to go through, which is some of the repercussions that happen when you have a child and you don't give it a physical body. Or even like in the case of some of my family members that have gone through the same thing. They've had abortions, and you can see the negative energy around them, and it not only affects them personally, but it affects their offspring. It affects their relationships. It affects their business, because the spirit is trying to break through and will agitate you until they get your attention. And so it's just a really sad situation, because there are many times where we can offer our support. We can offer our resources to our sisters and our family members. But because we live in a society that says, if you don't feel it, just don't do it. Or, however, you have, control over your own body, is hard, because if you've ever been pregnant, it's not your body anymore. To be honest, like, when I was pregnant, I was like, what's going on? I don't even feel like a person anymore. I don't even feel like I have control over anything. Like, there's a whole nother life that deserves to have advocacy. Like, outside of you as a woman. Um, but yeah, that's just my take. We have to really look at how we align with this society and these value sets, and how we can, look at ourselves and kind of see where it is that we don't want to take accountability, um, or that we don't want things to be unpleasant or hard. So I feel.
I go. I I absolutely agree. I have a number of friends who who have had abortions. Uh, and it wasn't until now when my mom got married, I was 3, and her, well, ex-husband, he also had a daughter, and she was 10. So there's 7 years between me and her. And I remember I was like 8 or 9, which means she had to be about 15 or 16. And she had gotten pregnant. Now, this is what I've been able to piece together from snatches of conversation. Because whenever they would talk about this, I would always have to leave the room. They'll always make me leave, but I'll be around the corner because kids be wanting to get all the information that they're not supposed to have. I was very much in grown folks' business. And so my sister ended up getting pregnant, and they were talking about taking her to the doctor to get an abortion. I didn't know what that word was because that was not one of my vocabulary words that, that I was learning. It wasn't one of my spelling words. And so I didn't know what they were talking about. And I knew I couldn't ask because I wasn't supposed to be listening in the first place. Only to find out after we were both adults, my sister ended up having a son um, when she was 19. And she wanted more children than that. But I didn't know that by the time she had had him, that's only because she put her foot down. She was like, she's not having any more abortions, and that she had had several abortions before that. And when I found out about that, that just really broke my heart because of like I've heard her talk about like the babies that she's thrown away and what they would have like possibly looked like or how old they would be now. Um, and so I feel like when it comes to that, abortion is usually like people's answer to trying to like it's like their solution to try to cover up something that never should have happened in the first place. Um, and so I look back on that now, and as an adult, I'm just wondering why was that the conversation? Why did she have multiple abortions? Why was that the solution every time she got pregnant? Um, for my stepfather and her mother and like the other adults to get together and talk about, oh well, you know, Felicia pregnant again. Like, what is that? Especially when I think about the fact that when she was a teenager, like she was dating, this was something real popular in the 90s. I don't know if it was anywhere else, but in Miami, for whatever reason, it just ran rampant that teenage girls were dating like dope boys. And these men were like well into their 20s, way too old. And so that's who she was with. Why is that the solution? Now, my 43-year-old self looking back on it, like, so nobody thought to like get this man arrested, throw him in jail. Why does he keep getting her pregnant? Why is that being allowed? Um, and so a lot of times it's like people's solution to try to cover up something that shouldn't happen. Like if I don't want to have your baby, like Mianu was saying, that I don't need to be having sex with you, or at the very least, make him put on a condom. If he is not willing to do that and he want to give you all these reasons for being allergic and all this other stuff, but you know that outside of this, this man has absolutely nothing else to offer you, and he darn sure ain't gonna have nothing to offer a child or a family, then why are we still doing it? And I think a lot of times, because I grew up in church, and so much emphasis is, especially with purity culture, is placed on girls trying to maintain their virginity and keeping their legs closed and all of this other stuff. I didn't even know what a soul tie was until I was 19. I did not understand like the spiritual um, ramifications that came with having sex with someone. I only understood it as like a physical thing, and that, oh, it's fornication because you're not married, so you shouldn't do it. Once I found out about it, this, dog, this made me feel so old. But I found out about it in watching that Juanita Bynum No More Sheets sermon. And it's a part in there where she talks about, she said, every time you have sex with a man, she was like, the spirit of that man, it's like it steps into your body. And she said that she was praying, like, God, how come I don't have a husband? And God was like, you may not be married, but you got a lot of husbands. And I was like, oh my God, Lenitra, how many husbands do you have? I never understood it that way. I never understood it in the sense of, even though we may not have gotten married legally and it's on paper and you sign documents and we had a reception afterwards and we jumped the broom and all of this other stuff, that having sex with you, I am uniting myself to you spiritually. That made me see sex totally different. And it no longer became about, I'm trying to not do it because I don't want to go to hell because I'm out here fornicating. No, it was literally, I don't want his spirit. Not in me. That's okay. We don't have to do it. And I just feel like Agbasi was saying about about us not really understanding the significance of the spiritual side and how what we see, all of this stuff is temporary, but what are the consequences in eternity? Like what I'm doing here, how is that still going to carry over? And of course, I know that not everybody believes that. You have some people who are just atheists or whatever, but I do think that once you have a certain understanding of the fact that this baby, like the body was growing in your womb to be able to house like the spirit that has already come around you and is just waiting for you to grow the body so that they can have somewhere to be, so they can fulfill their soul contract. A lot of people just have no idea, and I don't think it's really being taught from that perspective, even if you are going to church. You have plenty people who went to church and they knew about soul ties, but why was I 19 and had already slept with, I don't know how many people I slept with by the time I was 19, but that's not the point. The point is I should have known. I should have known, and I didn't. But then when I did find out, it totally changed my whole perspective and my outlook on sex and being more responsible, when it came to who I shared my body with. Alafia, Alafia, Alafia.
I go. Oh my gosh, Lenitra, like there is something that we have to study about the generation before us and why it was the answer for them. Because when my little sister got pregnant at 15, that was the answer for my mom. She was just like, the first thing, let's go to the clinic, let's get an abortion. And what was lucky is that my sister is like skinny. She's just skinny. She's not even petite, she's just skinny. So the baby hid himself for 6 months. It looked like, you know how when you eat and your stomach just pooch out just a little bit? That's what it looked like. She was like just gaining a little weight, eating a little bit more. So nobody knew she was pregnant until she went to the doctor. The doctor was like, she's 6 months. There's nothing we're gonna do at this point. There's no abortion that's gonna happen. And that was just it. And once she got found out, that baby bump just pushed out so much. She grew like overnight. I was like, oh man, that child's destiny is big because he hid himself well, very well. But yeah, I mean, that's something that we have to think about. Like, why is it that the generation before us, their go-to was abortion? Was it the free love era? Was it like what is that? Because that's what's teaching us. That's the education that we received. It's not even from politics. It's from our family. That's the education we received. And I wonder where it changed. I mean, I know like abortion has been alive and well for a very, very, very long time. But I just remember hearing the stories of the generations before them, like having a baby and like hiding a baby, or having a baby and sending it with grandma, or sending it with auntie, and then the child grows up and is like, you're not my mom, my auntie's my mom, like that kind of thing. I remember it being stories of more of a community, even though there was the element of hiding the wrongdoing. There was also an element of absorbing the child into some kind of communal effort, secretly or not secretly. And our parents' generation was more like have an abortion. That's the thing. So I just wonder. I wonder about that and where it changed and why it changed. Like, was it drugs? Was it, poverty? Was it, lack of jobs? Was it that we dispersed and moved, to the north, from, where we lived in the South, and we didn't have that safety net? What was it? I just wonder. And when you were talking about soul ties, man, like I keep on saying, and maybe this is my calling, but I wish there was a spiritual condom, like something you could put on and or drink or eat or something that would block that soul tie, because that is so real. Because sometimes you wind up having emotions that are not yours. You wind up having like changes in your character, and it's not all bad. Like, it's not, we picked the wrong ones. We picked the dope boys, we picked the broke boys, we picked the wrong ones. But man, could you imagine you picked the right one and that soul tie is just elevating you to so many different levels? And it's interesting because it's not only like how Miano said, like, I don't want to have a baby with you, so I'm not sleeping with you. It's also like, I don't, I don't like your spiritual composition, or your spiritual composition is not going to match with mine. I don't want what you have on your soul, And that's also a hard conversation to have. And it's difficult to assess if you don't know who you are. Like, you don't know what's going to compliment you or not, or you're just kind of like, you're starving, it's a desert, I want it now. You don't really think about what you're receiving on the other end is much more than the risk of just, not just having a baby, but having a baby. It's bigger. There are bigger risks out there. And I think when we put it on a scale, we can never say, I don't have any money, so I'm gonna deny this life. Like, the scale doesn't equate. I don't like this guy, so I'm gonna deny this soul from having life. Or I don't have. I'm all by myself, so I'm gonna deny. Or even the I'm gonna put him up for adoption, and the foster system is terrible, so death is better. Like, it's just it is not logical. And I think so, it's not logical at all. And so I think sometimes we just need help, like breaking down pros and cons, what's logical. Like, death is not the answer. So it's just, there's nothing that like equates to saying, yeah, death is the answer. Yeah. We just gonna end this now. Like, I don't know. But okay, I digress. So I feel. Spiritual condoms.
I go. See, that just a final word. Yeah. So I mean, I don't have like bring your bowl. Sorry, it's breakfast time. Um, I don't have like any, these are just my thoughts on the like, why was that the answer? Um, is I think like, especially thinking about that time, D-Circle like, door. Desegregation really like impacted our community. Um, and so we didn't have as much community support as we used to, right? And then during that time when we were segregated, it was like people of different economic classes. And so what one person didn't have, somebody else in the community had, and we all shared in all of these things. And so then when people started branching off and it being more segregated by like socioeconomic standing, I think that really broke down a few things because at the end of the day, money is necessary. Like it is, you know? And so I think that's part of it. I think also all of our leaders getting assassinated. Like I think there was like starting to be more hopelessness and like people just being tired and exhausted, not having community support. And so it was like, because I have friends who I went to college with who um I don't know if they had abortions, but I have a good friend who has always never wanted to have kids because of how like her own family background, her own goals, all these things. She always said she never wanted to have kids, like from jump, because of the way the world is, all of these things. She has said that. And that's its own discussion, but like there are people who look out into the world and they're like, I think it's cruel to bring humans into the world because they have like a very negative or dark view of where we're going. And so maybe during that time period, they were feeling a lot of that, like the loss of community, drugs was hitting heavy, our leaders were being, assassinated, and they were just trying to hang on. And so the idea of bringing another mouth into the world might have been like inconceivable. Um, and I mean, still, when I hear this conversation, I just think about the other issues around why people don't want to bring children into the world. Because to be perfectly honest, there are people that I know who did have children who still deal with depression, still deal with all of these different things that people who have abortions deal with as well. Because it's like a deeper issue. Like, because if you are someone who naturally has a go-getter mentality or has like this hold on life, you're going to be that way with a child, without a child, no matter what. Like some of these issues that people have, like, it just gets amplified with a child. Um, but it can be very isolating sometimes to not feel like there's a space to be able to have these discussions in general. And I love what you said in the chat, Alicia, like you definitely should be a part of this conversation because you have a uterus, right? This is something that affects you. It affects people that you love. Even if you haven't had a child or you haven't had an abortion, these are still things that affect us as a community. And I think that like us not having these discussions or not feeling like we can be honest about how we're feeling or the things that we're dealing with is how these problems are getting exacerbated. How we are still staying stuck, right? So like I really think a major component, the thing that's really going to shift things for us is us getting back to our traditions and how in the video Mianu said to get a spiritual checkup every year, getting a divination, because some of these things are going to come up no matter what. And you can start doing the spiritual work and then also start just getting the support. Because everyone has like such magic that they bring to life. And so when you are someone who is predisposed to, say, depression or things like that, there is a magic and a sweetness that you bring to life every day when you fight it, right? When you do things that you don't want to do, but it's for good, there is a level of dedication and love that hits different than someone who like already loves to do it, right? Like when your friend who is down on money gives you their last 20, that hits a whole lot different than the billionaire who gives you $20. And I think that sometimes we don't feel like there's a place for us or there's not a place for children or new life. but there is. Life is expansive. But I think that we need to have community and we need to start creating the proper infrastructure, because it is very frustrating with the conversations around, like, especially in the political sense, when they're like, you have to have a child, but then as soon as people have children, then they start attacking them. Why do you have so many kids? You can't take care of these kids. Why are you, or like, why are you on EBT? All these things, all these resources. And it's like, hey, I need help. And so it's like we need to really beef up our community and be able to help support each other and really be in our gifts, because some people are really great at the outside world business things, and like they should be out there doing that, bringing those resources back. There are people who are amazing teachers or, amazing homemakers, because there are plenty of people who have houses, but it doesn't feel like a home. Like we were all given gifts, and if we're, like the year reading talked about, being in our position and giving what we have to offer, everything will work out. Um, but I think one of the biggest things, no matter what, is that it's going to be hard. And like being able to accept that, I think is really important. And so my question to you all is, how do you do hard things? Like, how do you do the thing that you know is going to be difficult, or take responsibility when you know you've messed up or you've done something that's created an issue or something like that? What do you do? How do you actually engage that? The floor is open.
I go. I was trying to think of something that sounds better than what I'm getting ready to say. But uh how do you do hard things? I don't know anybody who like doing hard things. I know that for me, if I am doing the hard thing, I am probably at a point where I have no other choice now. I have run from doing the hard thing as long as I could, and I run as far as I could. And the one thing about the hard thing is that it's still gonna be there. And when you get back, you still have to deal with it. And so you eventually get to a point where you have no choice but to do it, or you just accept the fact that, man, I'm just gonna have to take this L. Well, the hard thing is not always an L, but you get to a point where doing the hard thing is better than dealing with the consequences of running from it. And you are just tired of running from it. And so you just do it. For me, I can only speak for Lenitra, bit by bit, little by little. I already know how I am. If I get overwhelmed, ain't nothing gonna get done. And so I have to eat the elephant one bite at a time, uh, and say that, okay, today I'm gonna do this. Because I already don't want to do this anyway. So committing to the whole thing ain't even finna happen. But I can do this part. I can do this much. And that's usually how I handle doing something that I really don't want to. I don't want to do this. Uh, yeah, I do it bit by bit until it's nothing left. Now it's done. And then I'm mad because I'm like, dog, I could have done that like 5 years ago and been done with it. Like, you really wasted a lot of time on that, Lenitra. But in the process, you learn so much about yourself. It's character building. I think it's also important for us to get back to like what you were saying, Mama Sharon, about community, because with integration, we adopted and took on so many things that really were not a part of who we were or our culture, um, because we were trying to assimilate, and we were just convinced that like this way must be better because it's getting them better results. because we didn't realize that at the time the results that they were getting was because of what they were stealing from us. We had not made that connection yet, that our way, and when I say our way, I mean like the way for us was better for us than other people's. Like it's a reason why this has worked for however many centuries within our culture and within our community. And I think that when we get back to focusing on loving us, because it's less about like not liking other groups or hating other groups, because they love to say that when Black people start loving themselves. But it's more about being so in love with us and what we want to be able to do for ourselves and generations that come after. And a lot of that is very spiritual. We are very spiritual people. And things that happen physically on this side, by the time we see it, this is just a physical manifestation of something that has already happened or started happening in the spirit. I feel like we had a much better understanding of that before integration than the understanding we have now. Because now we it's a lot of stuff we dealing with. We got the people who are like, no, you gonna go to hell, and the other people are like, that's Master's religion, and the other people are like, I am an Indian and I'm not African and I'm Native American. It's just it's all over. But I feel like we're coming back to it little by little and bit by bit. We are waking up and realizing our own power and our own strength that I feel like the world has already seen, but we were believing and we didn't have it. Alafia, Alafia, Alafia.
I go. Yeah, I think that identity is super important um, when trying to tackle doing hard things. Because it's like when you hold certain like characteristics from the jump, like the thing, it might be hard, but it's not difficult. Maybe I'm trying to figure out the nuance with those words, but I think that's right. Like it might be hard, but it's not difficult, right? Because I think about when I was younger, I made this goal of getting into a really good school on a full ride and studying abroad. And I like locked in on that because my home life was hard. We were, you know, financially very insecure. And I was like, okay, school is going to be the thing that gets me out of it. And so I just locked in and I literally saw nothing else. And like now looking back, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you could have like went to parties and done all these things. But at the time, like that didn't even register as something I could do because what I was doing was getting straight A's to get into a good school. And so it's like if we have that like strong sense of identity about ourselves, then it's like I could never have an abortion because XYZ. I could never do this to another person because this is who I am. And so I think to be able to do the hard things is really having that like deep tie to your identity. Um, and even once you do start to go down that path, there's still so much that has to get unraveled from that, and so much hurt and so much trust. I think trust is a really big one, but also like the only way that trust can be built is through experience, is through opportunity. And so if we stop opening ourselves up to having different experiences, like not trusting our, community, not trusting others, not trusting spirit, then we'll stay into this like the same places. Um, and so I feel like right now we're at a like the tipping point of that where we're being forced into like trust, um, which is hard, but the payoff is beautiful. Um, Alafia, Alafia, Alafia.
I'll go. How I deal with hard things is I usually take them on head on. And why I do that is because my energy and momentum is strongest in the beginning. If I wait to do the hard thing, I will procrastinate to the point of not doing anything at all. So it's kind of like that adrenaline rush that you have, like, I don't know, the skydive or the first jump, that you do. It's like you have all of this gumption to do it. I think this is what pushes me to do the hard things. And for me, it gives me some sort of comfort because it's like, okay, I start with hard. If I need to take a break, I have easy. Then I can gather my strength to continue hard. It's kind of like breathing in and out, hard, easy, hard, easy. And that just makes me like pushes the motivation forward for me to continue because whether I'm doing the hard thing or the easy thing, I'm having progress. And when I look back at that hard thing that I've done, 30% of, it's not as hard as it was when it was 100% to do. And so that's kind of how I attack it. I call it like leave myself little easy snacks to consume when I'm tapped out. And so that's kind of how I do it. It's like an adrenaline thing. I'm not gonna have. I know I'm not gonna want to do it, and I'm not gonna have the energy to do it later if I waste too much time. And so that's why I kind of go straight forward into an issue or straightforward into like a hard task that I have to do. That is just like a personality thing, just because, like I said, I know my energy levels and when they tap out. And again, it's really about knowing yourself and just being honest with yourself and knowing that, yeah, I'm gonna go 100 miles per hour for about an hour. And then the rest of the 8 hour trip, I'm gonna have to coast it, or I'm gonna have to take a break, or something like that. And how it like affects life is that when talking about abortion or just talking about having kids, period, the what I wish I would have known, which is really comforting to know now, is that the harder your life is, the more challenging your circumstances around your birth or even around your life path, it's like it's not indicative of less worth. And I think that's what we're taught. If things are difficult, if things are undesirable, if you're born under nefarious circumstances, that somehow you have less worth. And that's not the way nature sees it. I wish I would have known that the more difficulty you have in your life and around your birth circumstances, the bigger your destiny is. The bigger, the more favor you have in existence. Is actually the opposite of what we think. And so, when you hear, oh, I don't have the money, or this is not a good time, it was going to be so difficult, it kind of gives you, if you have the education, it gives you the motivation to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is big. This child is going to be, have a big destiny or X, Y, and Z. Or even when you yourself are going through a lot of negativity, a lot of trauma, a lot of just the worst things that can happen to people in their lives, it's like, oh, I have a big thing to do. It's actually not speaking to me not being worthy, but it's actually speaking to the opposite of me being worthy, of me being favorable, of me having big influence in this lifetime. And so I just wish that we had that understanding of ourselves and would give ourselves a little bit more credit instead of looking at, TV will tell you if you weren't born with the silver spoon in your mouth, if you didn't have these opportunities, then you're not going to make it in life or you're going to be nobody in life. I think that would give us a lot more motivation to move forward in these really difficult, strenuous circumstances around our children's birth and around our lives. Alafia, alafia, alafia.
Alafia, welcome in, Mika. It's so good to see you, girl. Congratulations on all your awards and how you've been doing. We are having a discussion around the first episode that Mianu did on the As You Are in One Thing series, which talks about abortion. And it talked about really ultimately facing the consequences of your action, and the need for, doing your spiritual checkups, getting your spiritual work done, doing your readings. Ultimately, in my opinion, the video was really empowering. Um, it's very hard to, deal with those topics or other areas of our lives where we have um, consequences. Well, I don't know if I like using the word consequences, but things that happen that create bigger situations. Um, but ultimately, we do have the power to change it or do things about it. And Agbasi, what you were just saying about how the more difficult your life, the more like power or the more significance that you have, I think is so powerful and important, for people to know. Um, what were your thoughts when you heard Agbasi say that? Like, do you agree with that? Like, what do you do with that? Like, even if you do have a big destiny, sometimes you might be like, well, I wish I would got a smaller one, a little house on the prairie or something. What are your thoughts about having a big destiny and, overcoming those things? The floor is open.
Lafia, Lafia, Lafia. I am honored to be here. I have been thrown off on my schedule, my time frame, my body, my everything. And so, like, yes, this big old destiny that awaits us with all these different things is challenging, honestly. And initially I was like, yes, throw me in the fire. I'm with it, like I'm coming for everything they stole from me, like, so I was so with it. Now I'm like, who chose me to do this? I'm like, universe, look, this is overwhelming. I'm trying to stay grounded and, it just, being chosen to have a big destiny. And when I first met Mianu, she let me know off the rip, like, hey, I see some bigger stuff in you. I signed up to be like the assistant, something small. And she was like, no, ma'am, this is saying that you got a bigger destiny. So depending on how you move is going to determine your outcome. And as I'm in the motherland again, whew, I love it here. My spirit's at rest. Let me just say that. And so I just feel like sometimes I'm like what you said, like, darn, I just want to chill and like have a normal life. Like, why do I gotta have all this big destiny stuff? Because it takes a lot of like endurance. You have to be strong. You have to be courageous. You have to be ambitious. Like, it's no days off, really. And so the days off that I do get is just for like replenishing. And I really needed to stay connected to y'all more than I have because my spirituality be needing to check up. so often, poor thing. And I need accountability. And that's just the bottom line. I need to be accountable for myself, but I also need accountability. Like, like for real, when we moving in these big spaces and I'm responsible for a lot of people looking at how spirituality might look. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want to fumble and make it look inconsistent with my behaviors. I need to be accountable to, somebody to like hold me accountable and in alignment with what I'm doing, because I may be the only one that somebody, sees in this era. So, yeah, just grace on everything. And I forgot how to end. That sucks. I need to do better. Peace.
I go. So you start with the I go, and then you end with the Alafia, Alafia, Alafia. No worries, you were halfway there, okay? Um, but you hit the nail on the head though when you said that your spirit was calling for rest and for replenishment, because I think that's something that we don't account for. It is always go, go, go. However, part of that go, go, go is like go rest, because then you won't have the energy, right? Like life is all about balance and about harmony. Um, and so I think one of the things that we have to reprogram ourselves to be able to like handle all these big, heavy things is planning in that rest and like not allowing other things to like interfere with that time. Like you actually do need time to just do nothing, like, because it's not really nothing. It's allowing your spirit to like calm, to be able to hear, to be able to like feel, to be able to replenish. And I think that if we had more of that, then we wouldn't feel so afraid to take on quote unquote big things, right? Or even like perspective is big. So thinking about things as like big or small, or, great destiny versus little destiny, when it's like, at the end of the day, they're just destinies, And it's like when we make things bigger in our mind and especially when our like self-confidence isn't, as high, then it makes us feel like we can't do these things, but we can. I remember I watched this video and it talked about how like if someone told you to walk in a straight line just on the ground, you could do it no problem. But when you ask somebody to walk on like a beam in the sky, then they're like, no, I could never do that. When it literally is the same thing. The risk is a little different if you were to fall over, but ultimately the steps of doing it are still just the same thing. And when I look at a lot of like great people or people who've accomplished a lot of things, the way that they talk about what they do, it's not on some type of pedestal. Like even if they make the greatest impact, it's like these are just the things that I had to do. And I think that like all of us are on that journey and getting there. But I think that like that rest portion is really big. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I think having rest is one of the ways that we can do hard things. Alafia, alafia, alafia. All right. We got like another 20 minutes or so. Um, and the time period and the season we're in right now is all about like doing the work, applying the pressure, doing the actions. So, does anybody have something that they need to be working on that they've been avoiding? Is the first question. And then the second one is how can we support you in doing said thing? And I'll give everybody a minute to just think about it.
I go. So I have this plan that that I've created a plan for the plan. For how am I going to actually get this done? Like, I know that this is what I want to do. And what does it look like to make it happen? What are the necessary steps that I need to take? And so I wrote those down. There's probably still some more stuff I'm quite sure I'm going to have to write down later, but I know that when you write things down, you exponentially increase the chances of that thing happening. And so I just started writing it down about what I need to do, and what it looks like, what I need to be able to purchase, if it's any money that needs to be spent on this thing. But ultimately, I have finally given myself a goal of when I am planning to get out of the United Snakes of America. And I like before it just seemed like such a big thing. Like, how is this gonna happen? Like, I don't know. I don't know what this looks like or even where I want to go. But I just began to start actively taking steps towards finding the information. It's out there, Lenitra. You just gotta look it up and figure out, okay, well, what do you want to do and what does it look like to get there? And coming up with a savings plan and what I am going to continue doing for money once I leave. And so I feel like I'm very excited about it because I've been wanting to do this for so long. Um, and then I end up meeting this man, and then we got married, and I'm not anymore as of Monday. So I've been single again for a whole 6 days, and I'm just like, what in the world? And so now this man, where his life, what he wanted was to continue staying in the United States, and I just kept feeling like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because how do we stay married if I'm not trying to be here and you are trying to be here? And I began to feel like I was trying to um, hold on to something that if you stop trying to hold on, Lenitra, what will happen? And it was painful. That was one of the hard things. A few months ago, I remember we were having this conversation. I was boohoo crying about, I finally was just like, we got it. But now I'm just like, that should have happened a long time ago. And it's nothing against him. We actually had a very amicable divorce. It was just, if I'm supposed to be going this way and you're supposed to be going that way, I mean, even the Bible says that if two cannot agree, then how can they walk together? I was like, this is not. So I'm very excited about no longer putting off the things that I need to be doing. So at the moment, I don't have anything that I can think of at the moment for what I should be doing that I'm not doing, because I feel like I am free again to do, and then fill in the blank with whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing. And I am grateful. Alafia, Alafia, Alafia.
Go. That is so awesome, Lenitra. Like, I've been there. I've been there. I like the exact steps that you just said. That's what I went through. And so, like, I married somebody, and I say somebody because it's like I didn't really know the man, but I got married during COVID. Great man, no doubt. But he was into church the whole time. He was a preacher. I'm like, yeah, how this gonna work out? I already had church hurt when we got together. I told him, look, don't be talking about that Jesus stuff to me. Long story short, He wanted to stay in America, of course. I wanted to go elsewhere, and we ended our divorce. And I was set free. He congratulates me and says it's unfortunate that we had to separate for you to have your destiny fulfilled, but he congratulated me on, like, wow, you are really doing the thing that you've been saying, like. And for me, I think I just took it like it was in my spirit. I couldn't breathe no more in the US, literally. I was there, but I couldn't breathe. Like, my spirit was so sad. Once you touch the motherland and you experience it, and you go back, you be like, oh no, not this again, So I would advise to, like, visit first before you even make a decision on where you want to go. Because we can say we want to do this, and that. I've been to a lot of places. I'm sure you have, but everywhere I go, I'll be like, I want to move here because it'd be so much better than America. And so, like, had I not came to Mexico, I probably would have went. Had I not come to Africa, I probably would have moved to Mexico at first because I loved it so much, But long story short is make the trip. Make the trip first, because in Africa you could be in Senegal, Benin, Ghana, Kumasi. Like, it's so many places, and every place has a different feel, different vibe. So everybody has something different to offer in their area. So yeah, that's first things first, like, literally. So then you will know kind of like what you need. Like, you don't have to overthink it. Really, I started living like I was moving in a RV. So all this extra stuff I didn't need no more because I can't take it no way. So that's how I set up my mindset to be able to go. And then I got one storage with all my, But I just started getting rid of stuff that I don't need. It really ain't valuable. I spend my money on so much stuff. That was the key to me. Because once I looked up, I said, darn, I make money online. And what's stopping me from being here? Like, oh, that stuff, that stuff, that stuff. I just had a lot of stuff. So I just started selling the stuff because it didn't mean nothing to me no more. I needed to be light. So all the stuff that I had previously bought and value didn't have any value anymore. And so I'm like, if I lived in an RV, I wouldn't have none of this. So that's how I had to set my mindset up. So I was ready. At that point, I didn't have no more furniture hardly. I got rid of all the clothes. I was like, where I'm gonna wear this to. So there you go. Just that part. But yeah, for me, I'm having an issue with continuing to be the student. Like, I want to be the student. I'm a hoarder of information. I have like a portfolio of so many things I can do. I take so many classes and learn so many things because I want to pass it on to my youth and just different people. So my problem that I could use help with is, like, executing. Like, just go on and show up, girl. You got everything you need already. But for some reason, I think it gotta be perfect. And oh my God, I didn't, is this really good enough? Can I post it? And, is people going, like, girl, just do it. Like, if I don't just do it, like, I got so much. People would just, like, and I just sit on it. And next thing you know, somebody done released the song that I wrote 3 years ago. Cause I just didn't think it was perfect. So that's where my accountability would come in there. I really need to just do it, scared and all, unsure, all of that. Because that's exactly what I did when it came to this move. I wanted to do it and I just done it. Like, I just figured it out while I'm flying the plane. So I need to be doing this my stuff. I need to execute and quit playing for real because uh it can turn into stagnant energy. And that's what I was trying to get away from, that stagnant energy in the US. And yeah, so I just need to execute and believe in myself. I think the confidence part, sometimes plays a part. It's like, oh, is it really good? You could be on social media and be intimidated, like, oh, my stuff didn't show up perfect, so I probably shouldn't post it. Anyway, well, good luck and congratulations on your freedom. We get to go somewhere. Peace. Love you, love you, love you.
I go. I feel you on the executing part, Mika. I loved the advice that you gave to Lenitra. I looked in the chat. Alicia had said that that's where she's at too, with having so much knowledge or wanting to do things, but like not being able to get things put out. And I would say that's where I'm at too, but it sounds like you might even be a step ahead of me of you're actually creating things, but you just aren't putting it out. Is that right? So you have videos recorded or things done, but you're just not releasing them? Okay. So for me, I have a hard time even figuring out what I should talk about because I do my best when I'm like talking one on one and responding back and forth. But when it's like, I just feel like I'm saying just random stuff. It might have to do with being like a youngest and always being told like, oh, you're being annoying. Like, what are you even talking about? Like when I don't have an actual person that I'm responding to or helping, it just feels like, well, who wants to hear this stuff? Like it just feels really random. So for me, it's like recording actual content that I want it to be impactful because I'm so busy and have so much other stuff to do. I don't feel like I have time to waste. So it's like I don't want to be creating this stuff and it's not actually helping anybody. Um, so I guess for me, one way that I will commit to helping you, Mika, is just staying on your neck and asking you to send me stuff, or maybe just staying like starting small, like just you posting it and well, not small. I won't say small because the Divine Feminine chat has over 200 people in there, but maybe just putting it in there versus the wider social media at first, using that as a sounding board, and then maybe once you post it and then you rewatch it back, you might notice something that you said and you're like, oh, that's not exactly what I meant, or like based on the feedback that you're getting. And then you might record another one and then that goes out into the wider social medias. But I'll just periodically shoot you with a text and be like, hey, you have anything you want to share, anything that you created? Um, and then I guess for me, that would also be helpful if somebody like asked a question or just, I don't know, gave me something to respond to. I don't know. I think that's one way that could help.
I'll go. Yeah,
No, go ahead.
No, that's great because honestly, I love your content and just from the stuff that I've already seen you do, it's like I need more of what you got. That grounded and getting ready for the day and calling your energy and yeah, like that part is missing. So I could definitely say, come on, we need some of that get us started content that you have. Like whatever you got is good enough already. I think it's a lack of confidence sometimes that we just don't realize the impact that we have on people. We good enough already. You know what I'm saying? And so being our authentic self is good enough, but we be wanting to perfect it and make it so right, to the point where our people are gonna uh like us for who we are. It's our audience. Our audience is our audience. So if they not in tune with it, guess what? They probably ain't our audience no way. And so we just really need to focus on our audience, even if it's 10 people. You'd be surprised what you can do with 10 people. Mianu done made a example out of the groups, like, because it can be continuous on and on. You do one thing with them and then hey, the next thing in is something else, and you just got your 10 people. So you don't have to have a big following. That's what I have realized lately. So that lowered my anxiety because I thought I had to have this big old following, to really like be impactful. But I realized like just like really I just need to put it out there. I'm just stuck with the stuff. But yeah, let's do it. I'm with it. I'm up for the challenge.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, we're going to be utilizing the chat a lot more. And because as we're doing this, I'm sure there's other sisters who feel the same exact way. And they going to start adding in and just having that beautiful space of creation. Alicia, do you have stuff that you've already recorded and then you're ready to put out? How can we be supporting you?
I'll share my voice for this one. I go. Because it's quite long. I think I've been stuck in really trying to heal space. I don't know where to start. Like, I hear all the things, I read all the things, I watch all the things, and it's just like I don't know what to do. So honestly, I guess I would need help with that because I just feel stuck. And sometimes I get to catch the things that you guys post in the chat, and sometimes it's like at the perfect time when I need it. But it's like I think it's also wow, they're doing so many great things and I'm not doing anything. So it kind of, it makes me feel kind of bad. Then I go away for a while again. So I don't know. I think I would need help with consistency or accountability, maybe. I think that's where I would start. Alafia, Alafia, Alafia. I'm learning, by the way.
I go. Ah, you have such a beautiful voice. Thank you for sharing that. I think Mika is right. It does sound like you need to be in the mommy goddaughter class, because that's a point where everybody who's been in that class we were at. And it's a tighter knit group and there's more accountability. And Mianu is teaching the classes, so there's like a wealth of knowledge, and so you can access that from Patreon, the Mommy Goddaughter tier, and we meet directly after this class. I'm in Pacific Standard Time, so that's 10 PST that class meets. So that's one way that you can help yourself get some support. Another thing that I would say is maybe taking a moment and like journaling, right? And asking yourself, thinking back to the beginning of this journey, what you needed, what you specifically needed at the beginning of that journey. And you have the answer to that now because you're farther along the way, right? And so, whatever you needed back then, there's someone else who needs that now. And maybe branching off for that of the content that you're making and just making it as kind of like a love letter or a how-to guide for yourself because there's other people out there who are on that exact spot in their journey, and I think that would also be very healing for yourself as well. And it also allow you to like see how much you have grown. Like there's just a lot of really good wealth of experience with doing that. So I will check in with you and see if you have done that journaling session and what you come up with. Okay, so Lenitra, you're gonna be selling stuff, right? Or what? How are we supporting you?
You know what? See, that's what happened when you be telling people stuff, and then you be like, "Yeah, hold me accountable." Um, yes. So yes, with Nappy, natural and pretty, perfectly you. That's been the name of it for the longest, but that is a part of well, not a part. That is the goal. Yes, I am working towards that. I have been writing things down because I know that for me, it's easy to be in my head and get overwhelmed with like all these thoughts and ideas. And so writing things down helps me to organize or at least get it out in some kind of way. Um, so what I am doing with that as far as revamping it is focusing on just one product because there was a whole line. I mean, the whole line it still exists, but coming back out with just one product, and moving from there. There's a lot. I feel like it's so much. This would we ain't got but 5 minutes left. It would just be like how many hours conversation talking about nappy. But nappy is definitely a part of the goal of not just for me. I feel like it's something that I want to do for us and for our community because I'm only worried about Black dollars. So I'm not interested in trying to appeal to anybody else, which is why it's called nappy. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. So the first step is getting it formulated. I know what I do to make it, but having an actual formula that I would be able to use when I am going to like a manufacturing company to make it, I need to be able to give them a formula and not just what I do, what I make it in the kitchen. So that is my first. That's my first challenge to myself in regards to nappy. Alafia. I'm gonna be selling other stuff too, but yes.
I go, girl, if you could see what's under this head wrap right now, I need your nappy. I need it. I need it. So I'm very happy about that. So I'm definitely gonna be checking up on that because that's something that I also need. Um, so all right, yeah, we got 3 minutes. All right. So action points. We are all going to be working and moving forward on these action items that we have been kind of avoiding um, because they're things that the community needs. They're things that our soul and our spirit needs. And we are going to start utilizing this community that we have because our words are powerful. And we're always like, we don't have community. We don't have community. Meanwhile, community right there looking like, you see me? Am I here? So we're gonna start utilizing each other because there are gonna be more ancestors coming through, and we need to be setting up our lives in ways that we don't end up in the situations where we might have to deal with some very heavy consequences, right? And more than that, we do this because our ancestors fought for us to have the opportunity to be able to do our passions, to create hair products, to be able to do music, to be able to inspire others. And so this is more than just a responsibility, but it's an opportunity as well. Okay, so I'm excited for this week. Be expecting random text messages, or if you don't hear from me, that means I might be in a trench. And so maybe you send a text message my way as well. Okay, but I'm so excited for us and what's to come. And I'm excited for next week's discussion. Go on our YouTube. Mianu has released many videos. And so we're going to be having discussions around these because you see what comes out of these discussions that she's having and these teaching points that she's having. So throughout the week, if you need some good nourishment, head over to the YouTube, get into the chat. Yes. And for everybody else, next class is about to start. Okay. So get ready for that juiciness because Mianu's going to be teaching. So you know it's about to be good. All right. Until next time, everyone, be well.